Welcome to this presentation about challenges and opportunities for shipping towards sustainability. So my name is Sven Boren. I'm a PhD at Blekinge Institute of Technology. And this is where BTH, as we call it, is situated in the beautiful town of Karlskrona in southeast of Sweden. So I'm a part of a research team which we call SustainTrans, where Henrik Ny is the team leader. Varvara Nikolina, originally from Ukraine, is on maternity leave. Giles Thompson, originally from Australia, Perth, and then me. We are the core team, and then we also have professors and these people supporting us. So we focus on strategic sustainable development of energy and transport systems in our research. So the question is here, can shipping actually be sustainable? Well, we do research through the framework for strategic sustainable development. And as you can see, there are some levels, 5 of them in this framework, which you need to go through them when you work with the framework. And on the success level, there are 8 sustainability principles. They were 4 earlier, so that's why there are 4 symbols. And the first 3 environmental are about that we should not systematically increase in concentrations of substances from the Earth crusts, which means, for example, do not pollute the Earth with more CO2, and not also with heavy metals without recycling them to a rate where we don't systematically increase them in concentrations. It's the same about substances from the society, like CFCs and dioxins and other examples. And also no systematic destruction of physical resources. For example, deforestation and open pit mining are good examples of what we shouldn't do. On the social side, which represents this icon, it tells us to not put up structural barriers for people's health, influence, competence, impartiality, and meaning making. So that's the sustainability principles. And if we comply with those principles, then we can become sustainable. And that's also the case for shipping then. So we did earlier work where we applied the FSSD, and we tried to find out how transport at large can become sustainable. So we should go from inefficient car-dependent sprawl to co-planning with all societal sector for dense and mixed smarter cities, for example. When it comes to users and market, we should move away from own car in focus, instead to walking, cycling, which is complemented with public transport and car services. We should also move away from gasoline and diesel dependency to battery and fuel cells, electric cars, and maybe electric roads. See what the future can have. And then also when it comes to resources, energy and material supply, today it's based on oil and gas. We also have a dependency on scarce metals. We should move away from that and use flow resources from sun, wind, and waves, for example. So that's basically what we found. And this project that I want to talk about is when we worked together with Wallenius Marine, and that was through a pause project, which is English is break. When you take a break from what you do in your regular basis. So that is a project financed by Vinnova in Sweden, and also the BTH chipped in some money. So we worked with Wallenius, and they usually they carry a lot of cars on their ferries or ships. And this is a typical example of what kind of shipping they do. So down here you can see a picture of a ship with sails or wings. So that is a future concept that they are trying to realize today. So the objective is to have this under sails in 2021 actually. I could tell you more about that concept, but it's on it's on this website, walleniusmarine.com. This collaboration with Wallenius Marine, first of all, we looked into how could we increase student cooperation, but also in the research side, we looked at analyzing visions, stakeholders' operations, and challenges and opportunities for strategic sustainable development. Already up front now, I would like to tell you about the new research that we found that has to be done, which is business modeling for slow shipping, in order to make this wind shipping, so to say, become a reality. And also how can the current fleet be converted to more sustainable. So applying the FSSD is done by an ABCD procedure. And in the first step of that, the A step, is where we create a vision together with the organizations. And this vision is framed by the sustainability principles, as you can see here. In the B step, we try to dig down and find out about the current situation and how it today does not comply with sustainability principles, or maybe it does. And then in the C step, we talk about solutions and how could the organization get towards the vision. And the D step is time for making a plan towards sustainable development towards the vision. The last step is something that we didn't do in this project. So that is why I crossed it over. What we also did was interviews, especially with employees at Wallenius. We also did workshops with them, and we also did literature reviews. So first of all, dig down into a bit what shipping is when it comes to contributions and not contributions to sustainable development. Well, as you can see in the first graph here, the energy use per ton is way less for shipping when it comes to overseas shipping in particular than compared to other transport measures. When it comes to coastal shipping, it's more similar to rail. So this is an investigation made by Deutsche Bahn in 2018. And when it comes to emissions, as you know, emissions is not only about CO2. As you can see here, CO2, 30% in the Swedish transport sector is actually from shipping when it comes to both domestic and international shipping. Because we strongly believe that you cannot exclude international shipping or international flights in these investigations. So it's the same. It's not the same, but it's similar for CO, carbon monoxide, and for sulfur emissions and some other emissions as well for shipping. That shipping actually have a great contribution when it comes to emissions. So if we look into life cycle analysis for shipping, Brino, Friedel, and Andersson has made in 2014 an analysis of comparative analysis of different fuels for shipping. And as you can see, LNG has quite low impact, but not when it comes to greenhouse gases. It's the same for methanol actually, and the LBG is liquefied biogas. It's a way lower than both LNG and methanol, and biomethanol is quite low on that side, but it still has other emissions, as you can see. So biofuels are good when it comes to greenhouse gases, but it has emissions on the other side. So when we're talking about global warming potential, we can see some differences in different stages. So, of course, when you burn fuels, you get emissions. So the LBG has contributions, even if it's biofuels, to contributions to carbon dioxide. Okay, so when we have done these investigations with Wallenius and also the literature, we can see that the challenges is actually low visibility to end consumers, which makes it difficult to motivate sustainable choices at end consumers. So even if Wallenius or other shipping companies takes measures towards sustainability, it's hard to make them visible. The logistics system is built on just in time, so it's hard to change it somehow, and that kind of mindset is also inbuilt in the shipping industry. It's very sensitive to disturbances in road planning. There's a lot of capital tied up in these shipping industry, especially as a ship can last for 25, 30 years. So, and then we also have some prescriptive regulations, so they are not so flexible. This is also a challenge when it comes to trying to get down to business and do stuff, which is good for sustainability. On the emissions side, energy carriers with high energy density are required. If, for example, if we were about to put batteries on one of these ships, it would be full of batteries if it would go over the Atlantic, for example. So it has to be high energy density, which make a future path for maybe not batteries, but other fuels and technologies could be doable. But it has to be higher density than it is today. And lighter vessels is also a challenge, especially when it comes to the design of them. Opportunities for shipping towards sustainability. Well, we have found that if we do new business models or if we modify existing ones, for example, the companies that order transport, they want to have as less time on the water as possible. So when it comes to sailing vessels, for example, that makes 10 knots in average instead of 16, 18, 20 knots, then they spend more time on the water. So that is an example of what has to be modified and how can we make those business models work even if we, for example, have slow shipping. Another opportunity is to make impact on subcontractors and customers. Marketing and lobbying could be means for that. Another thing is, as always, logistics and route optimization, which could then be fitted to slow shipping, for example. As always, cargo optimization on board, and maybe preloading could be one thing, because to not to spend so much time in port. digitalization and technology development is always good, of course, and this could make it more efficient to do some shipping. Energy efficiency, as always, and then we also spent a lot of time talking and trying to reach towards more sustainable ways of propulsion, especially by renewable energy. So examples of that could be battery propulsion in and out of harbors, use LNG and liquefied biogas (LBG) for shorter routes. Like for example, in EU, that could be feasible. We could also use biodiesels instead of marine fuel or diesel oil, and that would at least make the situation better when it comes to greenhouse gases. And then, once more, wind power vessels for longer routes, and that would make it the business case for slow shipping. I would like to thank you for watching and listening to me, and here are some references as well. So